right, hey everyone, welcome to the Lens of Morality podcast, where we talk about controversial issues and apply a lens of morality to that topic. So I'm your host today, Arsul. We've got Anik, Mo, and Haroon here. So just to start, maybe we just want to go and ask each other what our position on abortion is, and maybe how we got to that position. So Haroon, let's start with you. What is your position on abortion? Are you pro-life? Are you pro-choice? Are you someone, in case you do believe in abortion, when do you believe abortion is acceptable and not acceptable?
Yeah, so I mean, very, very controversial topic, and it's not an easy one to give an opinion on either because of the controversy, as well also just the different scenarios under which abortion takes place, right? So generally speaking, I would say I'm pro-life. It shouldn't be the situation where you already made a choice to be pregnant and then you are now choosing abortion, because if you're pro-choice, there was already a choice in a step prior which should have been thought out more carefully, right? And that's where I think the education needs to happen. But if you're looking at abortion from a perspective of, where there's a medical termination due to reasons where the mother's life is in danger, or there's an instance of foul play, things like that. Those are situations where absolutely abortion should be an option available medically, and it shouldn't be something that's ever portrayed negatively either, because it's also to make sure that the people who are in those situations feel comfortable to make that choice in that situation when it is a choice. But once again, when it comes to having an abortion, where people nowadays, and the way it's commercialized now, is that a woman can, one, be sexually active, and it's not frowned upon, where I personally think it should be. And second is, when you've already made that choice to be sexually active, and now you are going back and saying, you know what, I also want to have the choice to abort a child which came as an outcome of that first choice. Where should your pro-choice really be? Where should your decision making really be to decide whether or not you're trying to bring a life, or you're doing whatever it is, that comes to that point.
Of course. So just to clarify, you'd say you'd be accepting of abortion in cases of mother's health. Would you also say baby's health?
Of course.
Okay. And then would you also say rape?
Of course, yes.
Okay. And outside of those, you'd say no abortion at all?
Well, maybe there's other circumstances that I don't know individual. Like, it could be case by case
Okay,
basis.
of course.
But generally, it shouldn't be that you're a healthy young adult. You made the choice to be sexually active. As a result of that, you became pregnant, and now you want to choose to abort that child because it's too difficult to have a child, or too difficult to raise a child. Those are the questions you should have been asking yourself prior to getting involved in that.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
And those are the situations that where it really becomes very clear, for me at least, that shouldn't be the choice anymore, because you already made a choice. Beyond that, there's apart from those the options you mentioned, there could be specific scenarios where it may be applicable. I don't know everyone's situation, but definitely worth looking into. But that's one of the things that I'm more focused on right now for what I looked into. Yeah.
Okay. Mo, what about yourself?
I think I agree with him. I think it's not a black and white thing, especially about abortion. It's a lot of gray areas. You have to see case by case, and you have to see who's being impacted. If the baby, for example, baby's health, mother's health, even from country to country, I think you have to see the financial status, not just of the family itself, but also their circumstances they're living in. But I think in a lot of these debates, especially because it's a political topic now, we tend to have a black and white opinion on it. Either you're pro or either you're not pro. I just think that it's such a heavy topic that we need to have an open discussion about each case from individual to individual, and then judge what we need to do. I totally agree with him that the choice that needs to be made and that needs to be promoted is how pregnancy happens. The choice you're making is before to getting pregnant, and once you've made that choice, then obviously it's not okay to just support abortion and not talk about like he's saying, being sexually active.
Right, of course.
That's my opinion.
Got it. Fair enough. And Anik, yourself?
Yeah, I mean, so first, there's around 60 million abortions that takes place universally.
Yeah, are we talking America, Canada?
No, like 60
Worldwide.
million worldwide.
Worldwide, okay.
So, and the numbers in terms of the percentage of the population, the percentage is increasing. So, for me, my view is that all lives, they should be equal, right? In the case of, you mentioned rape, right? Like, it's psychologically for a mother that's bearing that, if it doesn't pose a risk, if the pregnancy is okay, I have a view that there are other solutions that can be implemented. For example, adoption, right? We don't have to abort. However, I think it's such a heavy topic, as Mo was saying, that there's not a black and white solution, but I think perhaps there is a need to have a black and white solution. Okay. So so maybe like I want to ask first, at what point do we think is a life created?
Very good question.
Is
Very good
it
question.
are we talking that it's okay to abort after the baby is conceived, or do we think when an embryo is created, which is around 7 to 9 weeks during gestation, that we consider that a life, right? So for me, my view is that we live in an era where science has dominated. There are some studies that found that the pain receptors in a baby are developed around 16-week mark, right? So I think before that, if you've made poor choices or some unfortunate things have happened, right? If the embryo after fertilization is not experiencing pain, then I can side with doing the abortion. But if the pain receptors are created and the baby can experience the pain, then I think I'm pro-life.
For sure. As the host, I'm gonna avoid giving my opinion on it, but your what you brought up on when we think life begins. Does everyone here think that life begins at conception, or do we think life begins perhaps, as you were mentioning, when the embryo is created, or when the baby can feel pain, when the baby has cognition? When would you consider it life?
So I think there's two opinions on it. One is the religious opinion on it, which has been the vast majority of opinion for the most part of our history. The other opinion, if you're not talking in religious terms, I would say at conception, baby is produced.
If it's not in religious terms, then at conception.
Yeah. If it is being,
Okay.
because in religious terms, then they would talk about a soul.
Right.
And that's when they would say that's when consciousness happened, or that's when the baby is produced.
Right. Religious people will generally agree that at conception is when a baby is considered a baby, or a fetus is considered a baby. But, like, for example, maybe an atheist would say it's when, like you were saying, like the embryo is created, or when the baby has cognition, pain, etc. So I do think, of course, religion plays a part and has played a part. But I would say increasingly religion is not playing a part in like our society's decision making, especially in America, where they recently overturned Roe v. Wade. Of course, we know that. So, like, what we're also not discussing here is like the mother's right to choose, right?
Right.
So, like, of course, the mother is the one that has to carry a baby for the full 9 months, right? It is, of course, a very, very difficult decision to make.
Of course.
That you may have to abort this baby, and proponents of abortion will say that, I am making this difficult decision. It's my decision. It has nothing to do with you.
Yep.
Right? How can you come and say to me that I can't make this abortion? have this abortion.
Right.
What do you
So
what do you
who's the
guys
you
what do you
in
guys
this?
say to that?
Who's the you? Are you talking about you as society, you as the male partner, or are you talking about who's the you in this situation?
It would be the government,
so the society or the whatever growing.
no, yeah. I mean, it would
And
cascade-
society in general too.
Yeah, government, society, your family, your friends, your husband potentially, right?
Yeah.
So these are people that could be preventing you from having an abortion. And remember, this is a very, very difficult decision
And I think
to make.
that question arises more so, especially in a foul play situation. Like Anik was saying that I don't agree with that even if it's, for example, if there is foul play, there is other alternatives because those alternatives happen after,
The birth.
after the birth.
But just
you
foul
were-
play, there's many situations where someone will want to have an abortion without foul
No,
play.
I know, but
like
I think
in a marriage,
if
people have
there-
abortions.
I agree, but I think if there is a foul play, then the mother solely should be the one deciding.
Okay, hold on.
Because the guy should not even be involved
Why?
in that, right?
Why?
Because he
That's
obviously
a criminal. Obviously, he.
it's a criminal
No,
offense, right?
So we're saying that.
I'm saying that if it's not a foul play, then at least it should be the husband and the wife's decision.
But
Like-
if it is a foul play, then it's the woman's right to.
It
Decide what to do
because
with it.
she now because the baby.
Now
can-
you're saying a foul play as in someone has cheated. Is that what you mean?
no, I'm saying rape,
Rape. Okay.
Sexual assault.
sexual.
I think generally speaking, like we all agree that like rape, abortion is
I
acceptable.
don't think he.
Let me ask you something.
Oh, he doesn't.
Okay.
You don't agree that?
Well, you know, it's a. Let me ask you this question first before I give my.
Interesting. Avoiding the question. Nice.
If let's say in the future,
Yeah.
right, they can simulate a fetus.
Hmm.
Like right now, for example, if a premature baby is born at around 26-week mark, you can put them in NICU, cook them more
Hmm.
until they're healthy.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Why didn't you say that?
Cooked.
I don't know.
Sure.
That's-
You probably
So-
have a chance.
Guys, we do
If-
not advocate cooking babies. Okay.
So if let's say in the future, if this notion of growing a fetus
Inside
can
someone.
take place right after let's say the foul play takes place,
Yeah.
then is
Then I think the debate changes completely because then the woman is not using her body. Right now, the problem is that there is another person involved in it, right?
Mhm.
A woman.
Of course.
She is the one who has to go through the whole process emotionally, physically, and so the decision making, she has to be a part of it.
But I still think
Well, of course
even
she
if,
has to be
even
part
if
of
you
it.
could,
so
even
your
if you
views are gonna change with the
The-
technological advancements.
no,
Of course.
they shouldn't. Absolutely.
Which
shouldn't.
technological
So he's saying,
advancement
let's
will-
say that there is the like you can have that in a lab.
No, let's say for example that God forbid someone gets raped, right?
Mhm.
And they find out that they're pregnant.
Mhm.
Okay. In future, if they were to take that fetus from the woman's body, and then in a scientific environment grow that
Oh, I
fetus,
see.
And then-
is that a better? Would that change your views on abortion? Can the woman then not have an abortion?
well,
But
you
no,
know,
but then that wouldn't be an abortion. That would be you taking the baby out of the womb
exactly,
and
exactly.
then
So what I'm
letting it live.
What I'm
That's
asking
different.
what I'm asking is right now he's saying that it's woman's right after.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
because she has
Yeah,
to
yeah.
carry it.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, I still think it should not be allowed because one, at the end of the day, it's still your baby, whether it's being raised or grown in a NICU. Because
Yeah,
what
all
if the
lives are
trauma
equal.
aspect? Okay, imagine you as a father. Okay, it doesn't happen often, but a man can be sexually assaulted, right? It's in theory possible.
Mhm.
What if then the woman is pregnant with his baby, and now does he have the choice to tell her abort if he was raped?
Right.
Does he have the choice? And why does he get to have the choice at all if the idea is just that, okay, you know what, he's not raising the baby or not carrying
Well-
the baby
well,
for 9 months, but
to,
he's
to be fair, in our society,
It doesn't happen.
well,
No,
it
it-
doesn't happen. But like, you'd have to pay for child support if you have the baby raped or not, right?
that's that's a separate topic. But just generally to what he's saying that now because you have this technological advancement, now you don't have to carry the baby, so the mother doesn't have that pressure or that whatever other aspects of the medical health and all those things that come with it. She doesn't have to deal with any of that. You just extract the fetus or the embryo and raise it in a lab, and now suddenly her choice is no longer valid. But what if this was a man in today's society today?
I don't. I mean, I think his point was that it's a lot of burden on the woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's psychological burden on the woman. Perhaps when throughout the pregnancy, maybe she gets to a point where her own life is at risk because of those psychological
The emotional
trauma.
stress,
Well,
trauma
I
that she's
think
going
for
through.
one, you're talking about psychological burden. I'm gonna give you the example of just a man now. Again, he could have psychological burden of knowing that okay, there's a child out there that is in biologically speaking, that is his child. Should he have the choice to tell the woman that sexually assaulted him that no, you cannot or can have the baby? Should he
Yeah,
have the choice?
I would say, like, cannot, like, no, I don't think a man can tell a woman to have an abortion.
Well,
But,
he was
but the
sexually
other way around,
assaulted.
I think it's fine to say,
Why?
don't have this abortion, right?
No, but I'm saying
Be-
we're
because-
talking about sexual assault, right?
Like-
the person who was sexually assaulted did not have the
Right,
choice.
you're
of being
okay, right,
pregnant.
You're painting that sexual assault picture, which is a very difficult picture.
It's I'm sorry, it's hard for you to imagine, but I'm just talking about one. It can happen in theory, right? It can happen. Is it not?
Yeah, it can happen, but does it happen?
Okay,
So
fine. Let's just
let-
forget sexual assault for a
Wait,
second.
wait, so
Let's just
what
forget
is- what is
sexual
the
assault
point-
for a
What is
second.
the point you're trying to make?
The point I'm trying to make, he's saying in the future, if there's a technology that allows the burden to be removed from the mother for the fetus or the embryo to be extracted, should we then give the mother the choice for abortion or not? Right? Because
Yeah.
now her choice would not be to abort, but rather that we will
but
take
by the
and we will
way,
raise the baby.
the question was asked for me that do you support abortion arising from rape?
Right, and then you talked about the
And,
technology
yeah, so
piece.
for me, I was like, for me, technological advancement does not impact my original thought process.
Right.
I think
Because you're
because I'm pro-life. I think all lives are equal, right?
okay.
So you think if a woman is raped, then they
No,
should
but- yeah,
they should still have the baby.
Yes.
Just to be
but
clear.
you're
Yes.
pro-life, but like you were saying, what about the trauma of the woman?
Yeah.
that
So
is
at
involved?
a point where
I'm gonna have to challenge this because, if we talk about trauma, imagine the trauma of having to raise your rapist's baby,
Yeah.
right?
you can
That-
give it away.
That is extremely traumatic.
But
Well,
that's
you have to raise you have to
No, you can.
you have to go through 9 months, and
Yep.
I mean we all know pregnancies have complications, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you could have a complication after the pregnancy. You could still have you could live a meaningful life afterwards.
And then
but
imagine
you
that
could still have a
attachment that you're
complication.
gonna grow in 9 months,
Yes.
and then you have that emotional attachment, but you still have all those
So
memories
I
and the
think
trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I
how do you
understand.
even deal with that?
I think these are all choices.
No, but
These are all
it's
Rape,
choices.
rape
no,
is
but
not a
rape
choice.
is not a
There's
choice.
no
I'm
choice in
saying
rape.
after the rape has taken place, what to do with that fetus is a choice. Okay, you can. I understand that there's a huge psychological component involved.
No, so
to
okay,
it.
but just to be clear, we're not asking you what you think is, I guess what you would want to do in that situation. What do you think is it permissible? Basically, that's what we're asking, right? We're not saying what you would do.
No, I think he's saying that what's the morally right thing to do.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But would you? Okay, that's fair. But would you also extend that to the permissibility? Let's say in terms of a law, like to say, if you're raped, can you get an abortion or not?
Yeah, because it's one thing to promote discussions about it, and it's another to actually make it a law.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you allow abortions in cases of rape?
Again, in when it comes to laws, currently the laws are they're flawed. I'll give you an example.
Canadian laws are flawed. How could you say that? Wow.
So a pregnant woman while driving, during a car crash gets killed. The person who kills gets charged with double homicide.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
So 2 people.
Right.
But the mother, at the point, if she wants to have an abortion, she's totally allowed to do it. Because the conception has not taken place.
According to law. According to law.
According to law.
Yeah, according to law.
So,
Sorry, sir. Repeat that. What do you mean conception has not taken place?
like the birth has not taken place.
Yeah,
Conception-
according to our Canadian law, it's not.
Right.
Yeah. So in the first case, the person who was involved in the car crash, he was charged with killing equal to 2 human lives.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But that human life, when the mother decides to abort, that, as per the state law, has currently not that many strict penalties. You can do it if there is a choice for the woman to abort. So I think for me, like currently the way that the state laws are implemented, they're a bit flawed.
Okay.
Okay. Now, when it comes to, again, will I make it a law? I think, for me, if the baby can inflict a major harm to a woman such that her life is going to be a danger, then I think she has the right to abort as a self-defense.
Okay.
What, like, harm as in that she is going to die, or
No,
harm as
she
in that
thinks-
she'll have to spend her life in agony?
No.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Thinking that
Even temporary harm, like short term.
Yeah.
self-defense
Like
in a
1
way
year
that
harm.
when I say like it's major harm, as in she might get suicidal.
Mm.
Okay.
That's very subjective. How do you know she'll get suicidal?
I'm saying if she gets suicidal in a way
But
that.
that would happen after the fact.
Yeah,
How would you measure that?
I'm saying this. So again, you have until the birth to make that choice. After the birth has taken place, there are other alternatives. If you don't want to go through that traumatic experience, adoption is one solution where she can try to get past that experience. But prior to that, if she thinks at any given point she's at that psychological trauma that she might cause a harm to herself, then I think.
So up until birth, if she might have any sort of psychological trauma, then you would say she can have an abortion.
Yes.
Not physical trauma, psychological
Yeah,
trauma.
physical trauma has already taken place.
No, I mean, when I say physical trauma, I mean like something irreversible, like, I don't know, like, I don't,
Like what?
I can't think of something off the top of my head, but,
Like if she tries to hurt herself.
no, I mean like if through birth the baby, harm-
C-section, the operation,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
those
No,
things.
but that
not C-section, but like let's say like something happens and you can't have babies again or something like that, right? I don't know the exact medical term, so I don't want to put it out there.
Mhm.
But there are certain things that could happen that could cause you to have a very different life after the fact, right?
But isn't that applicable to any?
And also
pregnancy?
you can also die from a pregnancy too.
Yeah, but-
that happens too.
No,
right?
but I think any other pregnancy you're making the choice. In this one, you're not making the choice.
You are making the choice.
Not
here.
before.
Yeah. So how you conceive the baby
Yeah.
But
is the question mark, right?
Of course, that is
Okay.
the big question.
So
Yeah.
again, I think my view on that is that, again, if the mother thinks that this trauma is going to be too much
Mm.
and it's going to be at the expense of the life, that for me is a self-defense. She can abort. If not, I think the mother should keep the baby.
Okay.
very interesting position, Haroon. I think you have something to add here.
No, I just think when you're pregnant, whether you're pregnant, by choice or not, there's always that pressure, the fear, the emotional aspect is there. Maybe not to that extent, but you always have it. So can then any woman have the right?
No, but you cannot compare the two.
No.
obviously.
You're not comparing the two, but I'm saying that one, like, it shouldn't be that you just have a choice at any point during the pregnancy to just decide, oh, you know what, I can't continue this anymore. Because at some point you have to draw the line where, like you said, there has to be a black and white solution, but there's got to be maybe a point we discussed earlier. When is a life considered a life? And at that point, there could be alternatives pursued. Maybe at that point you take the baby out and you do NICU and all those things if it's possible. But for you to say that, I'm getting a lot of negative thoughts, or this is too difficult mentally, maybe we provide support to the mother. We provide care for the mother ongoing if it needs to be,
course,
like
of
24/7 if it needs to be. But for just to be like a flip of a switch and say, you know what, I'm not, like, I can't handle this anymore and I want to end it, that to me should be the very last resort, where there's very clear evidence that, okay, something's going to happen to the mother and a doctor should make that decision.
No, but what do you mean something's gonna happen? We're talking about a woman who has been through the worst experience anyone can go through.
Of course.
But
100%.
you're saying that we need to provide her with support. We need, it
So
should be
you're
her
in
choice.
agreement with Anik, actually.
Yeah.
So
You think that the mother should could continue to have her baby even if she was raped?
So remember we talked earlier about at what point is the life considered life. So if there is sexual assault, at that point, you go to the doctor, you file a report and all those things. At that point, you have the choice, because for me, there is a point where I think there's a difference between when a life is considered life or not. That's my opinion. But at that point, the mother has a choice. Hey, you know what? I don't think this is right. I don't want to continue with this. Okay, you can abort the baby. But once you're 8 months in, 6 months in, at that point, if you as a mother want to decide that you no longer want to have the baby because it's too difficult, the first step shouldn't be like an easy choice at that point. Whereas initially, it can be just, it's not an easy choice, that's maybe a poor choice of words, but it can be a very straightforward choice where you can choose yes or no. But much further into the pregnancy, where you've defined, where you carried the baby for some time, and by medical terms and other whatever views you want to look at, that a life is considered life, at that point it should be more of a medical decision, not
so
just a choice.
I'm a bit even liberal than him. What I'm saying is that if at a given point the mother thinks that this is too much of a pain where she might inflict life-threatening,
Okay.
then at that point mother has the right as a self-defense to abort the baby.
Okay, fine. Let's
I agree with that, but I think
we
there
have
should
to
be
dive
a
into
certain
this a bit
limit
more.
to that. At a certain stage in the pregnancy, you can do that. Not at the end of the pregnancy.
Yeah, that's
right?
what I'm saying.
Well, I think at the end, like medically also, it becomes hard to abort a baby.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Really?
exactly. No,
yeah, it's a bit difficult.
Okay,
process.
let me ask you this question: what if this was like 26 weeks in? After that point, like you were saying, you can typically raise a baby in a NICU.
Mhm.
At that point, should you just take the baby out and then
That's
raise
exactly
it in
what I'm
NICU?
saying.
Exactly. If the baby can be taken out,
It's not an
whether
abortion
not-
then. Let's clarify that, because you're
Yeah.
saying abort the baby.
Oh, that is still abort.
It's
No,
not
no,
aborting,
no,
because
you're
then you're
saying
taking
give
it
birth,
out
right,
and you're
right,
raising
right.
the baby,
Give
right?
birth. Yeah.
You're not giving
So
birth.
at that point, again, my reason.
No, but you can have abortions like that too. By the way, you pretty much kill the baby.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Then you're
But
gonna be
but
then it's
then
murder.
the question is, why isn't it killing the baby before that? Because technically, you're still killing
No, but
this living.
that's what we're the whole
being.
debate comes as to what point is life considered a life. If we can define that first, then we can have. This
I think some of
conversation.
us here said conception. Do we all?
Yeah,
do we?
No, I said that at a point when the pain receptors are developed.
I think
Okay.
conception.
Yeah, I think
For
conception.
me,
too.
that's life, which is much earlier. in
I would adhere to the philosophy that when you have conception, then you have that potential for life, and I would value that potential the exact same at 26 weeks, at 22 weeks, at 21, 12 weeks, 10 weeks, 6 weeks.
So you're saying if there's no pain, it's okay. If there's pain, it's
Yeah, for me that's the boundary, right? Like the when the pain receptors are developed, then it's a living being. It's growing.
What about people who can't feel pain?
Yeah.
So you can abort
Can we,
now
Yeah.
very
can we
well.
hurt them?
So
Is it
the-
okay for me to come stick a hot iron on that person who can't feel pain?
Are there cases like that where they
Yeah,
don't feel
of
anything?
course.
Of course.
So many.
Yeah,
There are.
there are.
Well, again, after we're thinking.
So you're
we're
saying we should be
we're
able to
saying
do
by
whatever
the
we
way,
want.
let me-
to do.
let him
we're
say what
saying
he
by
wants.
the way,
Yeah.
for me, life is defined as life when the pain receptors are developed on an average baby.
And you're a pro-life person,
Yeah.
and so you're saying that if a mother feels in danger to her life
Mhm.
at any point in the pregnancy, even after your own definition of when it's considered life
Yeah.
because it feels pain, she can abort the child.
It's a weird
Yeah,
pro-life
if-
position.
if
It's
you-
not really a pro-life.
Yeah.
It's
if
not
you
pro-life.
can't- No, hold
You're
on.
bordering from
At that point, if
pro-life.
it's,
But
if
it's
she's
okay.
8 months,
It's okay,
if
we
she's 8
accept
months
you here.
in, if she's 8 months in, then if the baby can be taken out safely,
Yeah.
then grow the baby. Then there's no point for abortion.
Well, if it's 3 months in.
At that point, again, if it's we're not in that era where the baby's gonna survive, for me, I categorize that as a self-defense.
But once again, okay, let's look at it from a different lens. Let's just say an average person, he feels suicidal because of his own mental anguish, whatever trauma he's
Sorry,
going
he
through.
or she? Are we talking about?
Any an average person.
Oh,
he
no,
or she.
but like
they
you have
feel.
to talk.
Yeah,
like,
we should talk about women here.
Women.
No,
Yeah.
we can talk about women.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about
This
women.
guy talked about.
I know.
Yeah.
He's
No, but
talking
you
about
have
guys,
to look
but-
at it from a way
Ju-
where.
just so we're all clear, men cannot have abortion.
Exactly.
No, we're talking about general trauma. We're talking about because his idea of the woman's self-defense is coming from the fact that she has this trauma.
Right.
She may be suicidal. There be implication associated with it. But look at it from a view where what if somebody else has trauma? Another woman,
But
another man, another
she's
child,
not-
whatever.
But they're not carrying a
Not
baby.
responsible
Doesn't
for
matter.
another
You're not
being.
carrying a baby, but what is our first response as society, as medical professionals,
Yeah, there's
what is our
help,
responsibility?
help available for
Exactly,
them.
you help them,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what do you do? Why do you do that
Yeah, so
differently?
So let's tie this back into the abortion
Yeah,
conversation.
let's talk about why is it that the response is that no, you know what, let's abort the baby
So
because now
I-
it's too
I
difficult
think-
or
I
too
think-
traumatizing. Why don't we help
I
them?
think
Okay, I see the point he's making. It's
I know,
a fair
but
point.
I think in this day and age, and
Mhm.
we're discussing abortions, I think, in North America in general,
Okay.
for the time being. I think in this day and age, the availability of help is very easy. They've publicized this, the government has done a good job. As such, there's so many hotlines that a person knows that they can go to if they're at that stage where they're experiencing suicidal thoughts,
Mhm.
right? They know that I can reach out to them for help. So the help is there,
Yeah.
right? For me, I'm saying that the help is given, it's been tried, and she is still experiencing those suicidal thoughts. At that point, it's like matter of, okay, I'm gonna do it. At that point, it's a self-defense, and the woman has the right to it.
I think even if there is no suicidal thought, even if she's like going through such a trauma that her life is being impacted as such that she cannot continue to live a normal life or a proper life, I think even then it's a self-defense.
Okay, but again, we're talking up to the point of the birth, right? Because
Yeah.
after the birth, if she's really going through that trauma, then she can give
Yeah.
the baby for adoption.
No, I'm saying
Okay?
during the pregnancy.
So, but now let's talk before.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Just finish.
Now let's talk before, right?
Okay.
If at any given point, my view is that if the baby cannot be taken out safely, right, and there's high chance the baby's gonna die, then for that time period, what do you do?
That's what I'm saying.
If the baby is gonna die, then I that's understandable. Like I thought you're gonna have a baby to.
But
For nothing, really,
first of all,
right?
we're looking at a very specific situation.
No, but that's
But
what matters.
let's
These
define it a
specific-
bit better then. Let's define it a bit
These
better.
specific situations matter. That's the whole point.
Yeah,
it's
agreed.
the principles of
Yeah,
each
let's
situation, right?
define it better first. So right now, where we're at is, it doesn't matter if the woman is suicidal or not. It's just she's saying that it's very traumatic for me to continue on with this pregnancy.
because of what she's been through,
Because of what I've been
it is
through,
something
yeah.
that it's unimaginable.
Yeah.
And
It's
and
unimaginable.
let's be
And-
specific.
and
What stage of the pregnancy are we in right now?
Yeah, like let's just say it's past the point where we've all defined it is not life.
No,
Okay.
but they
Well,
think
what
the life is after birth.
No.
No, who thinks?
After birth? Obviously, life is after birth.
Who thinks life is okay? I mean, amongst
Wait,
us.
Let's not
what-
agree to that.
what-
The
everyone-
woman-
After conception. You
Yeah, you mean conception? That's what you mean, right? Is that what you meant to say? Conception?
Yes.
Conception.
Okay.
Okay.
It's fine. It's fine.
Sorry,
It's
not
okay.
birth.
I was
Yeah.
so confused.
Yeah.
I think afterward, then we can stop
Yeah.
this conversation.
Conception.
Okay.
Conception.
Let's just say
Fertilization, yes.
life is
Yeah.
after conception. For the
Yeah.
argument's
Okay.
sake.
And wait, just so we're clear, also.
Yeah.
Even though life happens after conception, nobody finds out the day after that they're pregnant. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly how long it takes.
Yeah.
It must take 4, 5, 6 weeks to find out or something.
Well,
Right?
Well, no, because if you
miss your period, yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
so-
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. You find out. Let's just say that you find out you're pregnant. Now suddenly you have this trauma that's overbearing you, and you just can't handle it.
Right.
So at any point, the mother should be allowed to say, "I can't continue. I want to have an abortion."
Not any point. I said to a point where the baby cannot be taken out safely. Sometimes at 7 months. Sometimes at 8 months.
Okay.
The baby cannot be taken out
Now,
safely.
if the baby can be taken out safely at a 7 or 8 month mark,
Yeah.
right, where it has
So that's not
chances to
then
grow.
that's a C-section.
Yeah,
No,
then they
that's-
just
that's a
sneak you
birth,
and you, that's
right?
birth.
So we're defining a section or a time frame from, let's say, 2 months in
Yeah.
to 6 to 7 months in.
Okay.
So that 5 to 5.5 months, if at that point the mother thinks that I've received help, it's not working out, this trauma is too much,
Yeah.
I might be suicidal, then my view is that at that point that's considered as a self-defense.
Okay. But
Now, what happens to the baby in that case if it's at 7 months?
So if it's at 7 months and she doesn't want to go through with it, then obviously she can go through with giving birth to a child,
So, but then-
induced labor,
No. But then that's not you arguing for abortion. That's you arguing
for pro-life.
for early birth,
Yeah, early birth.
C-section.
No, but let's just say the baby
but
cannot
then,
be.
but then now what you're really arguing for is giving birth to a child and then abandoning the child.
Yeah.
Again, I'm saying that if the mother, I don't think the mother should abandon the child, but if she's at a point where this event reminds her of that trauma, that her life is going to be altered,
Yeah.
impacted on a daily basis, then at that point, yeah, like
Yeah, you would make arrangements, or you would figure out a way where that child is taken care of. Then it's obviously
So
society's
again,
responsibility.
you're saying that abortion is, I guess I'm going to just say wrong in this
yeah,
case.
yeah.
So, you
no,
know,
but like you said,
yeah,
I'm so confused by your
No,
opinion.
but he is saying that within a time where the baby cannot be taken out, abortion is okay if it's self-defense.
Yes.
Yes.
Only that. That's
Yeah,
it.
and then the baby can be taken out. You take it out safely. You
Yeah, and if the
raise,
mother
you
doesn't want
adopt,
anything to do
send it
with
up for
it,
adopted.
send her for
Yeah,
adoption.
yeah. So let's look at the period between where it's not safe to take out.
yes, exactly.
And
there
it
you go.
is.
You're going to have to kill it. You're going to have to kill it.
So
yeah.
you're basically gonna have to kill a baby in
For
the-
self-defense,
For
yes.
self-defense. But now we have to define at what terms is that considered self-defense? At what point and who defines it? Can the mother just say it's so
I think
traumatizing?
the mother has the right because she's going through that experience.
Yes. Okay.
Like she has to have the right. Who else?
No, no. Okay, but let me just go here. What if it's? I always give the example of looking away from abortion for a second because we have to at least kind of set a baseline. But say it's another individual, very traumatized, and they're going through this period where we would consider it as self-defense, whatever the trauma they're experiencing. What support do we offer this person to help them? Because right now you're telling me that the solution for this mother is to just get rid of the baby.
After she's gotten help,
Yes.
right? If at that point she's still continuing to have suicidal thoughts to a point that she knows she might do it,
Yeah.
then for me that's a self-defense.
Okay.
I think even suicidal thought is pushing it. I think even if she's traumatic.
Yeah.
No,
She
no,
wants
I'm for me that's the line is the suicidal thoughts.
Yeah, I think
Whereas
it can be
suicidal
just traumatic.
thoughts are
One, I
interesting.
agree. And if
Because I
every
think,
other
I just think it's
every
very
other
insensitive because she has been through something we cannot imagine, and then we are saying that you have to reach to this point until we give you a choice. Before that, it's okay.
Okay.
We don't care what you've been through. You go deal with it.
okay, fine. Because trauma is so specific, so personalized.
Of course.
We can agree on that, right?
One
Now,
specific-
can I have the
Yeah,
right
we can-
to say, or can any person have the right to say, you know what, I have this child out in the world. Say a woman that was sexually assaulted. She went through the process. She had the child, and child was given up for adoption. She's like, I cannot live with this idea that there's a child out there of my rapist or
Right.
my sexual assaulter.
Yeah.
I cannot live with this. It's just I'm gonna kill myself if that child is like out there. Just knowing that child is out there. What choice do we give that mother then?
Again, after if the birth has taken.
But
place-
it's trauma is personal. We define that, right?
No, I'm
I can
saying-
experience very
No, but obviously
painful, very
once the-
debilitating trauma if there's something that bothers me. And what if the mother or a mother is bothered by the fact that there's a child out there?
But that's a full-grown human being now, right? So obviously the laws changes.
But we defined life though. We
no,
defined what is life.
so the
Why is
life-
it a full-grown
life-
human being versus
so
a
the
child?
life I defined was what is defined by the scientific community today.
Okay.
I'm not saying that's my personal view, by the way.
Yeah, but I'm saying.
just saying
Let me
that's
ask you
the-
this: what's the difference between a life in the mother's stomach, mother's womb, versus?
So that's the whole debate, right?
So
That is the whole.
No,
That is
no,
the
no,
whole
but-
debate.
But I think before
But no,
the
but
baby
sorry, I want
is
to finish this
100%
thought.
dependent on the mother
Right.
to survive.
Okay.
After the birth has taken place, it's not fully dependent on the mother.
Okay.
So
Alright, that's a fair
there's
definition.
a huge difference.
That's a fair definition. Okay, we can
Yeah.
look into that.
Um,
So because the child is completely dependent on the mother and she can no longer handle, that pregnancy, then we would define that okay, you know what, it's okay for the mother to make the decision to terminate the pregnancy.
As a self-defense in terms of suicidal thoughts. I think we've talked a lot about this
Yeah,
particular.
let's just move on
specific-
to specifically the laws because that's kind of important too, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I have.
we
The
talked about-
ever-changing laws.
Yeah, the
ever-changing laws.
ever-changing laws. We have touched on our opinions, of course, and it's a very heated topic. But what do you guys think the laws should be just in place? Do you guys think there should be like a total ban on abortions? Abortion shouldn't be allowed. Do you think there should be abortions under certain limited circumstances and maybe define those circumstances? Or should we have abortions on demand and maybe we can discourage them, but they should be allowed, right?
Yeah, but I think the debate we're having is to define what should define.
No,
because
so
those
right
laws
now,
will come out of these kind of
honest,
debates,
we're
right? We
having
gotta
a moral
hash
debate.
this stuff out.
Right now, we're having the moral debate,
Right.
right? And the moral debate is really maybe what you would do in like your household, right, or what you would recommend to your family friends, right? But the societal debate and the like the federal level debate here would be what laws do you have in
Right.
place, right?
Right.
So really, it comes down to, do you consider abortion to be the killing, or in some would say the murder of an unborn child, right? So then if that's the case, right, then what laws do you have in place to prohibit the murder of a child? And if not, you don't, then you would have the opposite opinion, right? And the reason why I asked this is, of course, we have laws against like murder, right?
Mm.
You can't just go around killing someone. So that's why also you have to have laws for abortion, because many in society believe that having an abortion is quite literally
Killing a
killing
person.
a person, right? So what do you guys think? What are your thoughts? What's your thoughts?
So yeah, so just to rephrase your question, the country laws, should they have a say for an individual that if they want to go through an abortion, right? So I think yes, there should be some precedence given to the state defining, if abortion is legal or not, and I'll tell you why. So right now, the way, and I'm specifically talking about North America only, right? The community that we live in is that once we grow old, right, we collect a pension, but we can live in these communities that is funded by the government. Okay,
In old age homes.
old age homes, right? Tomorrow, if let's say that abortions take place, now it's unfair for me when I go old because the human population can technically go down. So it can come to a point where, because of a drastic, let's say, increase or decrease in the human population, that those advantages are not given to me. Does that make sense or no?
Yeah.
Not at
It's
all.
not
When
really.
you're old, you want to make sure your
Yeah.
future is secured.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Thank you. Right? So I think
So you're saying
because
there
of
won't be
that,
much young population.
I'm just saying that's one example why
Right.
states should have a say in abortion.
Mhm.
Okay?
To control population?
No, that example was given to say why states should have a say in abortion or not, and it's not just women's
But you're
choice.
But you're saying should because of population control.
That's
Yeah,
one
that-
example.
Yeah, well,
That's
but
one
in this
example.
case, like
But-
one, you're getting very specific, and
Yeah,
second,
wait,
that's
wait.
a very selfish opinion to have.
We don't need to
Because
That's
when it comes to securing that kind of a thing, where when
Okay,
you're old
let's
and you
be
want to
fair.
make sure.
Okay, we're not on the Piers Morgan show here. Okay? we're all better than that. All right.
But state, I
But-
think,
but-
should have
but,
a say
yeah.
in
State should have a say. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
state
You
should
think
have a say in whether an abortion is legal.
Yeah.
I think state should have a say solely because it's not just one person who's involved, solely because there is a life at the end that comes out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that when there's multiple people who are involved and obviously you're producing a life, then state has to be involved.
Of course.
Because
I
for me, that's the only reason.
right. So you're the same reason why the state is involved
Yeah.
in any sort of regular murder. right?
Exactly. In not just murder, but in anything that society deals with where there's multiple people who are affected by it.
Of course.
That's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
state has to do. That's the whole point of a state.
Yeah, that's fair. And Haroon, what were your thoughts?
Sorry, what was the question again?
The question is, what abortion law should we have?
What abortion? Generally, like, we should have something defined as to whether it's allowed or not. And in my opinion, though, generally, it should be.
But the trend that we're seeing, right? Like a lot of countries have now.
You're talking Western countries?
No, countries in general.
Okay.
Abortion is legal. Canada, abortion was made legal in the 1980s, right? And it's very pro on the choice of woman to decide whether abortion is okay or not, right? And we're seeing that trend is taking place in other countries as well.
Yeah. So generally, to answer your question, I think if it's medical reasons, then there should be laws that allow that. If it's just
But otherwise, you would say no abortion allowed. Is that would
medical moral reasons, yeah, it should be allowed. If there's just to have a choice,
What's the moral reason?
Moral reasons, like we mentioned, you know.
Speak up.
Moral reasons, like we mentioned, like, you know, being able to make the decision for our
You mean
life.
speak up for the mic?
Yeah.
One can pick me up, I'm sure. You can
No, I can't, man.
How do you know?
You were mumbling.
Okay, what's the moral reason?
Well, the moral reason, like the ones we were discussing.
Yeah, but you were against it. You were saying abortion shouldn't be allowed because of that.
Yeah, so that once again, we're getting into very specific, right? Like I told earlier on in the.
No, this
conversation-
one's less specific. This is just whether you should be allowing it in society
I'm
or
just
not.
saying, in what moral cases would you be okay with abortion?
Yeah,
in
we
a-
looked at one example, but moral cases being.
That's the
Sexual assault.
extreme moral position, and you were still against abortion.
Two.
So where would you be okay with abortion in a moral case?
Yeah, I just explained. Like if it's sexual assault,
Hmm.
and in my opinion, where you know it's defined as being life or not, within that margin, it would be okay. If
Yeah.
it's a medical reason or if there's something wrong.
So
where-
sexual assault, medical reason. The reason why he's asking you to define moral because moral is too broad of a.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, you can
word
give so
there.
many specific examples. Then I can sit here for 3 hours and give you
No,
a
but
list of all
to
the
be
moral
honest with
reasons.
you, generally speaking, sexual assault covers a lot of things. It covers
It
Yeah,
does, it
because
covers
that's
so
one
much,
like
right?
that's the extreme, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mother's medical health that
Medical
covers
health.
a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Baby's health that covers a lot of reasons.
Exactly.
Right.
Those are all
the,
valid
Those
reasons.
are the
But
those are the
when
three
you-
personally that I would allow them.
Yeah.
If there are other circumstances, I would consider it. So basically, like my approach would be circumstantial abortions. I think that's, in my opinion, that's fair. That gives the mother certain rights, and it also gives the baby like a
Some protection.
yeah, protection
Yeah, yeah,
in the case that the mother is being potentially negligent,
yeah. Right.
right? So I think it does a bit of both.
Mm.
Of course, there's going to be gray areas, and I think generally speaking, it should be, a doctor kind of maybe final decision
Right.
on whether what the mother has presented is acceptable or not.
Yeah.
And of course, you can go to different medical practitioners. Different people will have different opinions and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, and I think in general, women should be made part of this debate more often.
Right.
Which we have seen in the last 30, 40 years before.
But
Men have been the one who have made the laws.
right. So
in the past.
now I think we've gone to the opposite side where men are kind of taken out of the decision making, right? So
Exactly.
don't you think men should be part of the decision making
Of
in
course, they
some way,
should be
shape, or
too,
form?
but I think.
But they are. We still are.
Well, no, they're not because only a woman can decide that whether she has the abortion or not. A man legally cannot say anything or not. So let's say, for example, you have had your wife has a baby kind of thing, right? She can secretly get an abortion without your consent,
Right.
right? And that I'm sure that would disturb you if you wanted the baby, right?
Yeah, but I think that's because spreading your genes is not considered something that law will deals with. It's if you have the baby and you were the one, like as a woman, then they say that only you have the choice. But
Yes,
you were
yes.
saying obviously the guy, like the male.
Yeah, I feel like there should be some consideration. Like, of course, ultimately it should be a woman's choice, but there should be considerations
Mm.
and what the man wants. I'm kind of iffy on what the law should be
Mm.
on that, especially because there's a lot of like open relationships these days,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. And I think
sometimes they don't even know
yeah.
who the father is and
A
stuff
lot
like
of
that,
these
right?
debates stem from the fact that the family as an institution has failed in
Yes,
these
yeah,
societies,
yeah.
and that's where all this debate comes from, all these problems have come from. And that's what I think we and a lot of other people need to make sure that family as an institution becomes stronger.
Yes, exactly.
And most of the abortion cases, we talked about one extreme case.
Mm.
Those are rare when relative to the other.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Most of the abortions, they either was
Young kids.
young kids or
That's
financially
another moral, right?
or financially they think they're not ready,
Mm.
right? And so I think
Well, we don't know if most. Do you have a statistic on that? That most of the abortions are that?
I can pull out.
Yeah, it's mostly people who have financial issues. Young
those are
people.
the most cases
Yeah.
Right.
for abortion,
Fair
right?
enough.
So
Fair enough.
what we're saying is that just to confirm that those type of abortions they should be illegal
Got it.
or not.
I think it should be.
I think they should. Yeah.
I think it should be a two way thing that we need to tackle the situation, one, we need to educate people on what's, that just like what happens when you have a partner, what happens when you have sex as a kid, when whether you're 18, 19, 20, like we need to educate more people that you need to be ready for it. We need to define financial situation of the society needs to be as such that they people don't have to think about having a baby and not being able to afford it.
So my opinion on that, because once again it's religiously motivated, but that's where the preaching of abstinence needs to be very clear, right? Because you're making that choice as well. Like I said earlier, you're making a choice at that point, and that's where instead of going and preaching pro-choice, you should be preaching abstinence. You should be.
That's why I
you
think
should
it should be a
should be
two-
educating people on the emotional, the social implications of being involved in something like that.
But that's why I think I said it should be a two-way thing, that both like education needs to happen too, and then
Yeah, but education can happen in two senses, right? Like you can educate people on using contraception, but that's
Right.
not
We
in my
could- we
opinion
could
the
touch
right
base
right
on
approach at all.
contraception, because if we believe that life begins at conception, then would we also believe that you know contraceptives are allowed? Like that could also be something.
But that's a completely separate debate. But just generally, though, I want to just hammer further into that point. Like education, it should really, because we're talking about morality, right?
you're saying what type of education?
What type of education? You can't be educating people to say, because we've had that education for decades now. We've been educating. I remember going to health class in grade 6 and being told, oh, use contraceptives. And what does a 6th grader need to know? Not 6-year-old, 6th grade. But what does a 6th grader need to know about contraception?
Right.
But really,
right. I think the education should be that you need
Right,
an
but
institution of family to have a baby.
exactly.
That
Should be
is the
education.
education that needs
That
to
should be
happen.
the real driving
I
point.
agree.
Whereas
I
people
agree.
are not being, encouraged to say that this is okay,
Right.
as long as this barrier is in place, or this kind of a sort
of course.
this
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
a whatever you want to call it, this sort of a contingency is in place. That's where the education should come to.
I agree.
Okay, sorry, continue.
But it's not easy always to have access to family, right? Like we're all immigrants here. You can immigrate to a new land
Mm.
where you know no one,
Yeah.
right? So what you're saying is that okay, like if that structure of family is
Yeah,
not
it's
there,
No, but we're not talking about
Then-
structure of
then
family.
don't
Like you need your
be-
entire
then don't make
generation
that
of
choice.
people there.
Yeah, I'm
Family's
saying-
2 people.
Yeah,
a husband and a
exactly.
wife. That's
Well,
a
like
family.
how I am defining family is two people, husband
Yeah.
and a wife.
And then you have children. You can have grandparents, but that doesn't necessarily. But the basic unit of a family is the husband and the wife.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I think we all agree that like a strong, stable family unit
Is a must.
Is a must.
is a must, or very highly encouraged
Yeah, yeah.
at the very least. Of course, we can
Must.
have successful families without both parents in case of like.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm
Yeah,
saying
single
that when
moms and stuff
you're
like that.
making the choice to
Um,
have children or to be sexually active, it should be under or within the guidelines of you are a family as defined, like you're a husband and wife. It's not that you're just meeting a partner here and there and then dating and then going.
Right. So basically, what you're advocating for is that you should only be having sex under those conditions, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, then those
Fair-
relations.
Yeah.
Bounce
Fair,
those
fair
relations.
enough. Fair enough. That's getting a little bit out of the scope of our discussion.
Okay.
But just to close and bring it back to our topic, which is abortion. We did discuss abortion and like the laws that we should have, right? So the final question on the law piece would be, should it be punishable to have an abortion, right? So it's one thing to say it's against the law, right? But would it be punishable, i.e. through like a jail sentence, right?
Because
So-
it has been in the past.
Yes. So would you say so there are different types of crimes, right?
Right.
Like you can I don't know, like you in the United States, for example, if you're caught with marijuana, in some states you'll go to jail, but in some states
It's
you
legalized.
it's
Some
decriminalized.
states,
It's
yeah, yeah.
decriminalized basically, right? And in some states it's legalized, right?
Yeah.
So decriminalization is like maybe you'll get a fine,
Right.
right? But you won't go to jail,
Right.
right? So would you guys send a woman to jail? Let's say if she has an abortion through like maybe like a black market situation, like
Yeah. I think it's more applicable to Anik and Harun to answer.
yeah, like so
My
you know,
Because because they're saying that abortion shouldn't happen. So if it does happen, what do you
yeah.
do?
So You know, I was reading an article when I was researching on this. In U.S., there was a woman that was charged with the killing of her baby because she didn't breastfeed for about a day after she was
Right.
discharged. Now, when we zoom out of that story, and by the way, she was charged for a homicide. She was
Right.
facing criminal charges. When we zoomed out of that story, she actually took an abortion pill. Okay, and by the way, just because you take an abortion pill doesn't mean that the abortion is going to be successful.
Right.
You take a pill. She took it with the concept that okay, I don't want to have this baby, but she took the pill, and then with the induced labor, the baby came out. Okay, so before
So wait.
with our current government structure, she had the right to abort. Okay, but once the birth was taking place, she was charged
Right.
with the
Right.
with the killing of the baby.
Yeah.
Sorry. At what point was this abortion attempted?
Like it was like around the 6-month mark or 5th month mark.
I don't think that if she was talking about, or I don't know if
What he's
there's an
saying is a law
abortion
change.
pill
He's saying
that.
a law change, right?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know if
I'm
there's an
saying the
abortion
law
pill that works at
changes.
any point that late.
4th to 5th month mark is what the article was saying.
Yeah.
But the baby was out, and then when they were discharged, I don't know the time period when they were discharged. Maybe the baby was in NICU for a very long time, but when they were discharged, she did not feed the baby. The baby died, and she was charged for homicide. But before that, she took it with the intention. She took the pill with the intention that I don't want to have the baby, right? So the question is for me is at what point, right, is a life defined a life? Because that will dictate if it's punishable or not. Because in today's
Okay.
society,
Yeah, fair
she
enough.
was punished when she gave birth to a baby.
But that's a very
Okay.
clear-cut
Yeah, yeah.
reason, right?
Yeah,
She
but
could have given the
she
baby in
gave
care of
with
someone
the-
else if
I
she
know,
didn't
but
want it.
she
at that
gave with
point.
she took.
Let's
she had
just
an
be
abortion
clear.
pill.
Let's just be clear. Your example that you're bringing up is very situational and it doesn't happen often, right?
No, but the principle he's talking about is that if what's considered a life, if it's considered when the
Yes, I
someone is
understand that. I
pregnant.
understand that. Yeah. So let's say whenever you consider life, that's irrelevant, right? If we do say we ban abortions or we ban abortions under whatever circumstances we decide, right, as a society, and in those cases when it is banned, what would be the punishable offense in your opinion? Is the question.
Well, I guess again in today's society, after the birth event has taken place, it's punishable.
Of course. 100%.
Okay.
Right.
Before, it's not, and I think where I stand is that again, when those pain receptors are created,
Yeah, so
Okay.
it should be punishable. So
It should be
what is the punishment?
Like, should
it's
it
the
be
same
just
as a
murder?
homicide. Yeah.
Even so, let's just
So
say when
it-
she
the
took
sa-
that.
the exact same as a homicide.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Okay.
saying.
whatever the circumstances?
Okay.
No, I think we discussed the circumstances.
No, not the extreme one.
Yeah, but regularly, once the fetus is created, then for me it should be equal as a homicide.
Okay.
Interesting.
But
Very interesting. Yes, indeed.
I agree with you on it. But one thing is when
Which, by the way, it used to be. Now it's not.
yeah. But that comes down to okay, the law says that you can have an abortion at any point. Like even
Sorry?
if the
We're not talking about the current law right now. We're talking about in our ideal situation, whatever it is,
Mhm.
right? Since everyone here,
Has a different opinion.
yeah, different opinion, but generally speaking, says abortion should not be allowed at some point in time.
yeah,
Not
right?
for everyone. Like it shouldn't be as open.
Yeah, not
Yeah,
open,
yeah.
but at some point in time, you have to say abortion is not allowed, right? So. I
So
think
what happens?
Yeah,
when
what
someone-
happens when you do pass that threshold and you have the abortion? So Anik said it would be a homicide charge.
Yeah.
Mo,
It would be.
I don't know.
Agreed.
Honestly, it's a
yeah, it is a very, very
it's
difficult
a
question,
very
which is
difficult
why I
and
asked
tricky
it.
question.
Okay, like let's just we're talking in a situation where there is a law in place. We're not talking about let's discuss what law should be or should not
no,
be
but
there.
Why
that's
not?
what
We're
we're trying
discussing
to
what-
discuss. That what
Yeah.
law should be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we're
That's the
discussing.
question, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, let's see what law should be there. I want to get
No,
that.
that's what I'm
No,
saying.
answer the question.
No, see, in that situation where he's saying that she attempted to.
Well,
take
we're
an
not.
abortion.
We're talking about broadly speaking.
Not just the case.
Yeah, we're not talking about the case. We're just talking broadly speaking.
Yeah.
You yourself had said abortion should not be allowed and only should be allowed under limited circumstances, right?
Yeah.
So, outside of those limited circumstances, what is the punishment for abortion in your ideal world?
Should be criminal offense.
Criminal offense, homicide charge.
It depends case by case, but it wouldn't be out of the question.
Okay, fair enough. And Mo, you said you're undecided.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but what are you leaning towards?
I have no idea.
Okay,
It's a really hard
Yeah,
one.
it's a fair enough.
Yeah, but you know,
personally, I think it should
Yeah.
be less than a homicide charge.
I agree.
Yeah, I just don't know what the charge
What
would be.
the charge should be.
Yeah, it's a very, very difficult
It
question.
should be discouraged.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it should be discouraged. That's
Yeah.
that's what I think.
But you know, that's when it said case by case basis, because look, there were situations where we discussed that there can be trauma, and trauma doesn't just have to come from certain situations of how the pregnancy happened. Generally, a woman can undergo a lot of emotional stress during pregnancy.
Yeah,
And if
all-
during
all
that
these
emotional
things-
stress there's a decision made, you look at that situation.
Right.
But if there's evidence of, you know, this woman was clearly not wanting the child, and then she was negligent of care for that child after the fact, that her intent was homicide throughout, pretty much. Because I wouldn't.
No.
I'm
Yeah,
assuming
so
her
that's not
intent.
Yeah,
too
not-
aggressive.
I'm
Yeah.
assuming her intent in the sense that what did she do after the fact? She
No,
could have
I
given
think-
that baby up, right?
So
Yeah, but we don't have to assume the worst here.
No, but I think we
Uh,
are talking about giving up a baby like it's the easiest thing to
Yeah,
do.
it's not. It's
Yeah.
not.
It's
but
a
you
very
think you're gonna
difficult
let
thing
it
to
die?
do. It's
no,
but
I don't
it's
think-
one of the most
I-
difficult
A,
decisions in
I don't think it was
woman's life
intentional.
potentially.
What do you mean wasn't non-intentional?
And B, like you think it's easy for a woman after the baby, like you know, like it's if
No,
it's
but
a
that's what I'm
brand
saying.
new baby.
You
if it's
just
a
told me
newborn
that she didn't
baby-
feed him.
Yeah, if it's a newborn baby, she's
When-
not
when did you-
accustomed
When did you say?
to that event that I was talking about.
Oh, I see.
Because I thought that was intentional that she didn't feed him.
No, it was not. I don't know if it was
Yeah,
intentional. or not.
again,
Like,
again,
I
we're,
think
I
it's
thought that was
hard-
fine.
we're getting back
no,
to the
but
situation.
it's hard to know what the mindset of someone is who is not even
You could simply
feeding the
forget if
baby,
it's
yeah.
a brand. If tomorrow you're starting a new job,
Mhm.
okay, you don't know how to do certain tasks. It's a brand new thing.
Right.
You might forget to do something.
Of
Okay,
course,
yeah,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
what I'm saying.
You know,
But
so
well, I'll clarify. You know, when you earlier mentioned that situation, I thought there was an intent not to feed.
No, no, no,
Right?
like, I
intent
mean,
not to care.
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. I don't think like she was just charged with a homicide because the intent at that point is out of the question.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. We talked about intent, of course. That's important. It's a very, very complicated topic. We all have differing opinions, and it's good to have this conversation. We are kind of running out of time,
Mhm.
so if anyone has any closing words, you guys can kind of go.
No, so who's pro-life here?
Well,
I think.
I think
I am pro-life up to a point. When the pain receptors are developed in a baby.
I think I am also pro-life, but I just think that it's not black and white. That there's a gray area, and we need to address that.
yeah, I also think there's a gray area for sure. Certain limited circumstances I'd be okay with,
Yeah.
as long as it's not like on demand kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it should definitely not.
Yeah, and I think Haroon's on the ultimate extreme here.
Why do you say that I'm on the opposite extreme? I said it pretty much.
No,
the
no,
same.
It's a very polarized situation.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very complex.
Yeah.
The reason why it doesn't have a black and white answer is because it's
Yeah.
very complex. I think we made an attempt to touch on it,
Mhm.
right? However, at the end of the day, perhaps it would have been good to actually include a woman
Yeah,
Of
for
in this
sure.
podcast, because we're all men. It's
Yeah,
easy
yeah.
for us to say,
What do we know,
okay,
right?
adopted, blah, blah, blah,
Especially someone who's been through pregnancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, so with that, we'd kind of like to close the podcast. Thank you for listening. This has been the Lens of Morality podcast. Peace out.
Okay.